Denise and Thomas left the high school and started the walk to Denise's house. They were just starting their high school life but had known each other from attending junior high the last 2 years. They immediately fell into a great friendship that is slowly moving towards a more intimate relationship, but so far, neither had made any move toward that end. Thomas lived just a couple blocks past Denise. "I'm glad we decided to walk instead of taking the bus every day," Denise stated as they strolled along. "I especially like this time we have just to ourselves." "Yeah, me too," Thomas answered. He was starting to feel different toward his friend. He couldn't understand why he suddenly felt the urge to hold her hand while they walked. He was afraid if he tried, she might slug him in his arm. Last time she did that, it left a nasty bruise and it ached the whole next day just for saying he noticed she was wearing a bra. "It's been a month now. I was worried that the freshmen would be getting picked on all the time, but so far it hasn't been too bad. Just get bumped around some in the hallways." "That's probably because you aren't that big yet," Denise opined. She grinned and gave him a little shove. "You're little like me. But don't worry, you'll probably end up growing a foot in a couple months. And maybe I'll get boobs bigger than what I have so far." Thomas stayed away and glanced at her. "What's wrong with you?" Denise pressed. "Last time I mentioned anything about you, developing," Thomas ventured, "you hit me so hard I could barely move my arm." "Yeah," Denise laughed. "Sorry about that. I was feeling really vulnerable that day and you surprised me. I was happy that I was needing a bra, but feeling funny about how it seemed to draw more attention to the fact that I didn't have a lot. Plus I had just started my period, so I was a little testy." "I can't believe you talked to me about that stuff." Thomas moved a bit closer again. "Most girls get embarrassed to even mention that it happens." "Yeah, it happens," she sighed. "And it isn't fun, but it is a part of life. And you should feel good that I feel like I can talk to you about anything, even that. We are the bestest of friends." "Yeah, we are." Thomas again wanted to touch her, hold her hand or put an arm around her. Should he tell her he was feeling that way? "Do you think you are going to make friends with some of the girls at school? Maybe you'll end up talking to them more than me." Where did that insecurity come from, he asked himself as he heard the words tumble from his mouth. "I might make some friends," she assured him, "but nobody will replace you. Believe me, I can't picture you not hanging with me always." Thomas felt a warm wave wash over him as she spoke the words. Was he wanting to kiss her? What was happening with him? "Hey, I'll see you in the morning, right?" Denise asked as she turned up the walk of a 2-story house. "Of course," Thomas regained his composure. "I'll be here for our walk to school bright and early." He waved as he started to walk further down the street. He couldn't help himself. He looked back over his shoulder and watched as Denise climbed a half-dozen stairs toward the front door, her ponytail bouncing as she went. He turned away as she pushed open her door and entered. "You seem awful quiet today," Thomas told Denise as they walked toward her home. Denise walked a few more paces looking at the sidewalk in front of her. "You know I'm a girl, right?" she spoke just above a whisper. "Huh? Yeah, of course." Thomas answered, wondering if she had been reading his mind about how he was feeling about her. It had been just over a month since he started having feelings about his best friend and hadn't figured out if he should tell her how he feels about her. "I mean, there isn't any doubt to me." "Why?" "Well, there were some girls in one of my classes and I tried to join in," she explained as they walked. "They just treated me like I was one of the boys instead of a girl. They all wear makeup and dresses all the time. I can't help it if I like pants and I don't wear makeup. That doesn't mean I'm not a girl." "Of course not," Thomas answered. "I mean you are definitely a girl." He hesitated for a moment, then I never felt the way I feel about you with any of the guys I talked to. He watched out the corner of his eye to see if there was any reaction. After a few more steps, how do you feel about me? Well, I don't want you to hit me again, he blurted. If you don't tell me what you were talking about, I will hit you, she threatened. Now spill. Okay, he sighed. I've started wanting to do things, like hold your hand while we are walking. And sometimes I want to put my arm around you. And she pressed. And I've even thought about kissing you, he braced for her response. Denise grabbed his arm and pulled Thomas around. Before he could object, he found his lips being crushed against his teeth as Denise pressed her lips to his. It hurt a little, but his only thought was that it was his first kiss. She let him go. Well, she asked. Is that what you've been waiting for? I don't know, he answered. I thought it might be a little softer. Damn, I'm always too rough, Denise kicked at a stone. Thomas reached over and gently grasped both her arms. He stepped closer and leaned in, gently pressing his lips against her. Then he let go of her arms and wrapped his arms around her. He was pleased to feel her arms wrap around him and felt her breasts press against his chest. They broke the embrace and he took a step back. Wow, that was great, he breathed. Yeah, Denise actually blushed. But, do you have something in your pocket? No, Thomas answered confused, OH. It was his turn to blush. Denise reached out and took hold of Thomas's hand. It's okay, actually, it makes me feel better that you feel that way about me. They turned and continued to walk hand in hand, not talking. When they reached her walkway, she turned and pulled him close again and kissed him before letting go of his hand and heading up the walkway. Thomas felt like he was floating down the sidewalk on his way home. By Thanksgiving they had moved on to more intimate kissing and were getting a little touchy-feely with each other. They were going on dates when they could find someone to give them rides to the movies, or an arcade, or even the mall to just walk around for a couple hours. They were sitting alone at the back of a theater waiting for the movie to start, practicing their kissing. Do you think I'm girly enough? Denise leaned back in her seat and took a sip of her drink. Do you wish I was prettier, wear makeup and short dresses, bigger boobs? Thomas felt like he was being led into a trap and he knew if he waited to answer for too long he'd be in trouble. Yes, and no. Denise looked at him. Would you like to clarify that answer? Yes, I think you are girly enough, Thomas stroked her hand, and no to all the rest. He felt satisfied. She turned in her seat to kiss him again. Instead, she looked his face over. You know what? I think you would probably make a better girl than me. She slumped back in her seat. Why would you say that? Thomas was totally confused. She turned back to him. You are actually kind of pretty. You've got eyelashes that no boy should have, your face is a really nice shape, your skin is so soft. Your blue eyes behind those lashes are beautiful. And your hair is so blonde. I have this ugly brown hair, my eyes are brown, I have a big nose. I just bet you would make a better girl than I do. Before Thomas could answer, people took seats right in front of them and the lights went down. He leaned close. I think you are pretty, and we'll talk later alone. He squeezed her hand and was relieved to feel her squeeze it back. They walked out of the theater and found Denise's mother waiting in the car just outside. They climbed into the back seat together. How was the movie? She asked as she drove away. It was good, Denise answered. Mom, would you mind dropping us off at the park? It is going to be getting dark soon, she warned. I don't like you out there after dark. We won't be there long, Denise explained. We just started talking about some stuff and I want to finish talking about it. And before you say we can talk at home, I'd rather it be just us, and no, we are not talking about sex. Her mom glanced at the two of them sitting in the back seat, sighed, and nodded. Okay, but as soon as the street lights start coming on, you start heading for home. Got it? We promise, Thomas answered. Thomas held Denise's hand as they walked over to a picnic table near a large oak tree. They stepped up onto the bench seat and sat on the table. Do you really think I'm pretty? Denise asked. Absolutely, Thomas wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her a little closer. I like the color of your hair and your eyes. And your nose is not too big. Trust me, there are some really big honkers out there and you aren't even close. That elicited a giggle from Denise. Okay, fine. My nose isn't too big, but I just feel like my hair is so drab. What about highlights? Thomas asked. If you don't like it, have that done and brighten it up some? What do you know about highlights? Denise looked at him. I hear my mom talk about things, he told her. What about your mom? Have you told her about those things? She has tried to do some things, but I don't think she thinks about what things are like today. She leaned against his shoulder. She's bought things that I just can't see myself wearing. The problem is, I need a real girlfriend to help me figure these things out, someone my age, but nobody my age wants to be my girlfriend because I don't fit in. That's what my dad calls a catch-22, Thomas nodded. What's that? Denise asked. It came from a book or a movie or something, he explained, when you want or need something but in order to have it you have to already have something that thing would give you. They sat quietly for a couple minutes. Thomas gently rubbed her back. Denise traces lines up and down his thigh. I don't suppose you could help me, Denise whispered. I trust you. I know you wouldn't put me in a position to be laughed at. I really don't know what I can teach you, Thomas laughed. I haven't done anything like what you are talking about. I just know what I've heard between my mom talking to her friends, and from things on TV when she is watching something. We can figure it out together. Denise jumped up. Yeah. You and me, we'll experiment and work things out just like I would if I had a real girlfriend. I want you to be my girlfriend. What? Thomas shook his head. I don't think that can work. Sure, Denise started pacing back and forth as she put the pieces together in her head. I told you, you could be pretty. We'll play dress up and put makeup on each other and talk about all this stuff. I know you can do it. You'll do it for me, won't you? She stopped in front of him and took both his hands in hers. Thomas wanted to scream no. He could picture her painting his toenails or putting lipstick on him and immediately an image of kids at school laughing at him. This was their freshman year, they had a long way to go. Anything like this would follow him all the next 4 years. He looked her in the eye and told her, yeah, I guess I could. Yes, she threw her arms around his neck and hugged him tight. Then leaned back and kissed him. Don't worry, this will just be between us. Who would I tell? You are really the only friend I have. So, come on, let's go to my house and see what I have that we can start with. Thomas smiled and got up. He let the smile fade as she turned away. What have I let you talk me into? He asked himself. For Denise practically dragged Thomas back to her house, through the door and up the stairs toward her bedroom. Dinner will be ready in about 45 minutes, her mother called. Is Thomas with you? Yes, Denise called back. I'm going to make him into my girlfriend. Will he be staying for dinner? She called back. Yes, Denise pulled Thomas into her room and closed the door. Thomas stumbled toward the center of the room and just stood there stunned. It had all seemed a blur since he agreed to let her do this to him. Okay, Denise went to a dresser and started opening drawers. First put these on. She handed him a couple items. I'll give you the dress in a minute, I only have 3 that my mom has bought me, so deciding will be easy. She pulled the large t-shirt she wore over her head, dropped her jeans and proceeded to remove the simple white bra and panties. Thomas stared at her, having seen only her backside. He had only ever seen her in the oversized shirts and loose jeans she liked to wear. He actually saw a very nicely shaped body. She pulled on a pair of black panties, the rear was pretty sheer, and she was putting on a black bra that had a lacier band. You better get started, we don't have a lot of time. Thomas quickly stripped off his clothes, turning his back to Denise. He checked the panty and from the back it seemed to be the same as the black one Denise put on. He pulled it up and was relieved to see the middle panel was solid white, while the front sides were also sheer white with little white flowers dotting them. He struggled trying to get the bra on when he felt fingers take the ends on the bra from his and fasten it. Here, Denise reached around him and handed him a white dress. He took it and pulled it on. It was short, maybe reaching his mid-thigh, had short puffy sleeves, and a low neckline. Denise zipped up the back which barely covered his bra. He turned to look at her and barely registered the short black dress she was in, about the same length as his, no sleeves, but a low neck that showed a bit of the tops of her breasts, when the door suddenly opened. What do you mean? Her mother started and stopped. Seriously? You are up here playing dress up? I don't know what to say. Thomas, I can't believe you let her talk you into this, but I have to say, you look really cute. And Denise, if you dressing him up is enough to get you into a dress, then by all means. You look terrific. Mom, Denise sighed. I need someone my age to talk to about things, and none of the other girls at school seem to want to be my friend. I just found out Thomas has listened to things and has some ideas, and I hoped we might be able to do some things together, like a girlfriend. Oh, dear, her mom moved in and hugged her. You can always talk to me. I know, Denise answered, but I also need to talk to someone my age. There are some girl things I will need to talk to you about that no matter what he has heard or read he won't be able to help with. But clothes, makeup, maybe some other things, we can play with. Experiment with each other. And you are okay with this? Her mom asked Thomas. Well, he picked at the dress while answering. When I said yes, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And then it happened so fast. Well, I'm just glad I got this dress on before you came in. Now, well, I guess I survived this far. As long as she doesn't insist on cutting my hair or plucking my eyebrows, I can go along with it. Give me a turn, her mom instructed. Spin, let me see the whole look. Thomas slowly rotated around until he was facing her again. I suspect some of this is going to involve makeup, she nodded. What about breasts? Are you planning on giving him some? And shoes? Mom, I admit this was a quick spur-of-the-moment thing, Denise sighed. But that is part of it. Us, together, figuring things out. I think I will be asking you for some advice on things. Like his breasts. I don't want to waste a box of tissues every time we do this. Maybe you have some ideas? Every time, she stated. So I am guessing this isn't a one-time thing? I don't know if I like the idea of you two up here alone getting undressed together. I didn't look at him when he was naked, Denise answered. And he already had on panties and his back turned when I helped him with his bra and handed him his dress. And if he saw me, well, I had my back to him, so he didn't see much. I'll bet he saw enough, her mom sighed. I'll think about the breast stuff. Are you going to change before coming down to dinner? Your father will be home in a few minutes, might be best if I prepare him for what to expect. Not this time, Denise thought about it. I think we'll change again before we come down. I just took off and didn't think about too many things, but now that I see him, I am thinking about a lot of things we can do. If he'll agree to doing this again. Thomas had been listening to the exchange but was also looking at himself in the mirror. He had played his hands over the dress he wore, feeling the fabric and how it felt. He suddenly realized that they were waiting for an answer from him. Oh, sorry, well, I guess I could do this again if she wanted to. A small grin crossed her mother's face. Okay, well, dinner should be ready before too long. For now, we can keep this just between ourselves. Okay, leave the door open at least a couple inches, okay? At least if you are changing clothes in here, you'll hurry and not get too interested in checking on things. You are way too young to be getting into that kind of trouble, and too old to ignore what is right in front of your eyes. Agreed? Yes, Mom, Denise answered. Her mom turned and left the room, pulling the door to within a couple inches of being closed. Wow, Denise turned and sat on the edge of her bed. I didn't think about what my mom and dad would think about this, but so far so good. Come here and sit. I want you to get used to being in a dress. Not too used to it, Thomas answered, but he moved to the bed, turned and held his dress as he sat. He kept his knees together as he scooted back a little. Very nice, Denise offered some praise. You did that like you've been wearing a dress for a long time. Have you been? What? No, Thomas objected and pulled the front of the dress as far down his thigh as he could. I just watched you and tried to do the same. Plus, it sort of felt right. How do the bra and panty feel? She asked. Do they fit okay? Felt like the bra was okay when I hooked it for you. The panty, well, it looked nice on you too. They both feel okay, Thomas blushed a little. Your panties looked good on you too. Actually, the panty feels really nice. My mom bought these sets for me hoping it would make me want to be more girly. So, why haven't you worn a dress to school? Thomas asked. I think you look great in the dress you are wearing, and I bet you would look good in this one too. You said you have 3 dresses, what's the other one look like? Oh, it's a formal that I got for a dinner one time. She got up off the bed. Let's see what it looks like on you. Take off your dress and bra. It won't go with this dress. She went to the closet and pulled a dress from inside. She came back and laid it on the bed. Thomas got up and Denise unzipped his dress and unhooked his bra. He once again turned away from her and pulled the dress off over his head. The bra fell down his arms. He tossed both onto the bed and picked up the new dress. He pulled the zipper down and found his way under the layers of the skirt and pulled it over his head. Denise pulled the zipper up. Wow, get you in some high heels with that and you'd look amazing, Denise answered. Thomas turned to look in the mirror. The dress was silver gray. The top had 2 thin straps that ran over his shoulder close to his neck. The front and back reached high to his neck, but nothing covered his shoulders. Lace down to a satin belt around his waist, and then a pleated, layered chiffon skirt reached just above his knee. He turned to face Denise again and felt the skirt flutter against his legs. It felt so different than the other dress, especially since his shoulders and arms were almost completely bare, and his upper chest and back were covered. This is nice, he stammered a bit. You might look better in it than I do, Denise looked him over. I doubt that. Thomas walked over to the bed and picked up the other dress and bra, giving the bra to Denise and moving to hang the dress up. He was reveling in the feeling of the dress moving about him. Okay, we better change again, Denise told him. Come over here and I'll unzip you. Thomas feigned being happy it was over and went back to her and spun to present his back to her with perhaps just a bit more flair than necessary. Denise ran the zipper down and grinned. She was certain Thomas was not going to deny her making him into her girlfriend. Now that she had seen him in those two dresses, and how he reacted to the formal dress, she wondered if their adventure might one day go beyond playing up here in her room. Perhaps after seeing how things go with makeup the next time. Thomas pulled the dress off, handed it back to Denise, and she turned to hang it in the closet. She pulled her own dress off and pulled on the jeans and t-shirt she had worn previously over the black bra and panty. Maybe wearing nice underwear once in a while wouldn't be so bad. She thought about wearing the white set that Thomas had been wearing, and it gave her a pleasant chill. Thomas had removed the panty and gotten dressed again in his own clothes. He turned back around just as the t-shirt fell into place on Denise. "That was actually fun," he confided. "I thought I would die when your mom came in with me standing there in your dress." "I thought she would really blow a gasket," Denise admitted. "But she was really cool about it. I think she thought you were really cute and wants to see what you might really look like." "Really?" he asked as they left her bedroom. "Maybe," Denise answered. "Guess we'll find out." Thomas and Denise were strolling down the street toward Denise's house. It was Friday, school done for the week. They were hand in hand as they stopped at her walkway. "My mom is thrilled," Denise moved closer to Thomas. "She is taking my shopping tonight for more dresses. I'm going to be looking for both of us. I was hoping you might be free tomorrow. Maybe come by about 10 in the morning and we can spend all day hanging out as girlfriends. You are still going to do this, aren't you?" Thomas smiled at her and pulled her close. "Yes," he whispered. "I am actually kinda looking forward to it. I had fun once I got over the embarrassment last time. And I am really looking forward to seeing you in more dresses." "I bet," she laughed and kissed him. "I know you really liked that formal. I could see in the first dress you weren't quite sure of things, then when you were in the other one you were just looking for an excuse to prance around the room." "I wasn't prancing," Thomas' face flushed. "Nothing wrong with it," Denise assured him. "I liked the way it felt when I wore it too. So, will I see you in the morning?" "Yeah, I'll be here." He kissed her again and headed away. Thomas was walking up the street to Denise's house. He was looking forward to seeing what Denise had in store for him today. He was also concerned about how he was feeling about this. He was a boy. Why was he looking forward to doing this? Why was he enjoying this? He felt really good about helping Denise out. That was good. He hoped he would get to wear that formal dress again. Was that good or bad? He hadn't told his own parents about what was going on. He was as conflicted about telling them about it as he was about how he felt. He needed to talk to someone, but the one person he would talk to about it was the one begging him to do it. He was about to ring the bell when the front door opened. Denise's mom stood there smiling. "Thomas, I'm so happy to see you this morning," she spoke barely above a whisper. She stepped back so Thomas could enter. "Listen, before you go upstairs to see Denise, I just wanted to tell you thank you so much. Last night, Denise and I went shopping. We bought her so many nice clothes. It was the first time since she was little that I really felt like I had a daughter, and a lot of that has to do with you agreeing to do this with her. I still hope that somewhere along the line she will want more of my help, but I understand that she wants someone her own age to help her. Anyway, I don't want to hold you up too long, I just wanted to thank you." She hesitated a moment, then hugged Thomas. Thomas was stunned. He reached up and awkwardly returned the hug, felt he needed to say something. "Oh, well, I would do anything for Denise," he whispered back. "She's my best friend." Of course, her mom stepped back and wiped at a tear that had leaked out. Please, don't tell her what I just said. I'm afraid it will make her want to pull away again. Thomas nodded and went up the stairway. He pushed her door open and found her standing, looking at herself in the mirror. She was wearing a simple red t-shirt dress that reached about mid-thigh. Oh, hi, she went and hugged him, then pushed the door almost closed. There are some clothes on the bed for you, another dress like this one. I thought you could change, then we'd go through all the things I got last night and see what you like and if there is anything that maybe I shouldn't have gotten. We will likely try a few things on. I did pick out a couple outfits that I thought you'd look really cute in. Thomas just nodded and went over to the bed. He kicked off his sneakers, pulled off his shirt and picked up the bra. It was a simple white bra with lace trim, but it connected in the front. He slipped it on and after a bit of a struggle he managed to get it fastened. It felt too high on his body. Denise, he called. This doesn't feel right. Oh, here, she came to him. Let me help you adjust your bra straps. Tell me when it feels right. She began extending the strap on one side while Thomas pulled it. That feels better on that side, he told her. Yup, that's perfect, thanks, he informed her when she adjusted the other. Oh, Denise walked back to her desk and returned. Put these in your bra, they will help give you some shape. She dropped a couple lumps into Thomas's hand. He looked them over but couldn't determine what they were. They were malleable and he flattened one side and dropped it into the cup on the right. He squeezed his new breast a bit, giving it a nicer shape, then did the same for his left breast. He leaned over to pick up the green dress from the bed and felt the tug of the breasts against his shoulder. He slipped the dress over his head, helped it get past his breasts and let it drop. Then he raised it up and undid his pants and pushed them and his underwear to the floor. He picked up a pair of white panties. He was happy to see they were solid, but there seemed to be less of them. The side was nothing by a short string. He stepped into them and as he pulled them up, he reached under his dress to get them in place. There was barely enough material to cover him, and he was grateful that the dress laid a lot flatter than when he was trying to get his panties on. Here, try these, Denise held out a pair of flat sandals. There was colorful beading on the strap that covered the foot near the toes. And more on the straps that would go around his ankle. He sat on the edge of the bed and pushed his dress down between his legs. He took off his socks and slipped his foot into the sandal. It fit perfectly. He buckled it and put the other one on. Great, they fit, Denise cried and clapped her hands. I took a best guess from what I remembered of your feet compared to mine. I also was able to talk my mom into getting a pair of heels that would fit you too. Now, let's take a look at my closet and see what we like. They spent the next couple hours pulling clothes from the closet and talking about if they could be worn to school, or to a dance, or just to walk the mall. Denise would decide something needed to be modeled and whether it was she or Thomas that should do it. When he changed the first time, he once again turned his back and slipped off on dress and pulled on the next one. But after Denise changed unabashedly without hiding, and he saw she was wearing the same style underwear that he had on, he started following her lead, just pulling one dress off and the next outfit on. Hey, why don't you come down and have some lunch, her mother called. Okay, Denise called back. Come on. But Thomas hesitated. He was standing in a black miniskirt, silky blue blouse and black shoes with an 1.5-inch heel. But what? Denise pulled the door open. She was in a long white dress with green leaves and vines weaving over it. It reached about mid-calf with a slit up her left leg that went to mid-thigh. The neckline was low, but not so low it exposed any of her breast. You look fine, and she saw you in that white dress last time. Plus, she made your breasts, she'd probably like to see you dressed up. Thomas carefully navigated the stairs in his new footwear and followed Denise to the kitchen. "Well, look at you two," her mother gasped. "You look ready for a date." "You know, a little makeup would really finish the look." Denise and Thomas looked at each other across the table. "Well," Denise started. "I don't know a lot about putting on makeup, since I never wore it." And while Thomas might have heard things, I'm betting he doesn't really know much about it either. Thomas just shook his head. "If you like," she went on, "I could help teach you some things. If you don't think I would be butting in too much." Denise looked at Thomas for a moment, trying to decide. He didn't give her any indication. Would this be pushing things too far? "Okay," she finally smiled at her mother, "let's see what you can show us. I think maybe start with me, in case Thomas doesn't want to do it." "Thomas," her mother mused. "I'm sorry, but you just don't look like a Thomas in that outfit, which you do look fabulous in, by the way. The heels really make your legs look great, and I think the breasts look good, pretty natural." "Do they feel okay?" Yeah," Thomas answered. "They feel great, different having something there instead of just wearing a bra." "Good, so, a name," she went on. "Don't you think you should have a name to go with the look you have? Have either of you thought of one?" "I hadn't really thought about it," Thomas answered. "Well, I have," Denise put in. "I wasn't sure you would actually show up today, or if you did that you would be up for doing the dress up. I hoped so, but I wasn't going to push you if you didn't want to. I like the name Tammy for you, if you want a name, and if you like it." "Tammy," her mother smiled. "When you were little you had a doll you called Tammy." "I didn't remember that," Denise answered. "It was very special to you, carried it everywhere," her mother recalled. "One day, it just wasn't around. I never knew what happened to it. It was quiet for a while." "Tammy would be okay," Thomas finally broke the silence. "And maybe you could teach us makeup together." Both girls broke into big smiles. "Finish your lunch," her mother instructed. "I'm going to collect some things from my room, and we'll do it here in the kitchen where there is plenty of room and good light." A couple minutes later she returned with a bag and a stack of mirrors. She had also changed her clothes so that she now wore a white blouse and a long yellow pleated skirt. She handed each of them a mirror and began scattering all sorts of bottles and containers of different shapes and sizes. "I thought I would do my own makeup," she explained as she set up her own mirror, "and you could try and duplicate it. Your skins are a bit different, so I'll suggest things specifically for each of you and we just have fun." "Denise, you don't mind that I am jumping in, do you? I don't want you to feel like I'm pushing too hard." "No, Mom," she gave her mom's hand a squeeze. "I like you are helping us. But I don't think we should all be changing clothes together, okay?" Her mom laughed. "Yes, that is very okay. While I could envision you and I doing it when you are a bit older and our styles might be closer, I don't think I could handle Tammy being there." They all laughed. They spent the next hour listening to her mom explain and demonstrate all the items, making suggestions, and laughing at some things. Tammy picked things up pretty quickly and was soon offering advice to Denise, which her mom confirmed. Just as they were putting on the finishing touches, they heard a car door. "Oh, Denise, your father's home," she began pushing the items off the table into the bag. "Take these things up to your room, we'll sort them out later." She handed the stack of mirrors to Tammy. "I think it best I try to explain things to him before he sees Tammy." They both nodded and scurried out of the kitchen. Tammy was carrying the mirrors and his heels which he had kicked off during the makeup session. "Hey dear," they heard her father's voice as they were about halfway up the stairs. "You look great. Have we got something going on tonight that I forgot about? No, dear, they heard her answer. Sit down here for a minute, I want to talk to you about something. Denise and Tammy got into her room and couldn't hear anything more. So, what now? Tammy asked. She didn't get to tell us how to take all this off? I can't go anywhere like this. Well, I think we need to step it up while we wait to be called back downstairs, Denise answered. She proceeded to pull off her dress and went to the dresser. Strip down to your panties, we need different bras. Tammy obeyed as he watched Denise get completely naked, again with her back to him. She put on a black strapless bra and a black panty that was not only sheer in the back, but was nowhere close to covering her entire bottom. She turned and he saw the front was an even smaller lace triangle. She handed Tammy another black strapless bra and tried to pretend she didn't notice the shift in Tammy's panties. My mom almost said no to these panties. Felt they were too sexy for a 14-year-old. It was the only time during our shopping trip that I felt like she was treating me like a little kid. I don't think there is enough material for you to wear them though. Tammy accepted the bra and wrapped it around himself. No, I think you are right, he blushed furiously. Am I changing panties too? No need, Denise turned back to her closet. First, she pulled the silver gray formal from the closet, and to Tammy's surprise, she slipped it over her head. She reached back in and pulled a long black dress from inside. I picked this out because I thought you would look great in it. Tammy accepted the dress and pulled it on. They zipped each other into their dresses, then Tammy got his shoes back on. They stared at each other for a moment. Tammy's dress was strapless, a black satin band at his breasts. The dress flowed to the floor and sparkled with every subtle move. He pulled at the top of it, adjusting it. Don't you worry about it falling down without straps to hold it up? Tammy asked. I haven't worn anything strapless yet, so I don't know, Denise answered. Oh, my God! The door swung open, and Denise's father stood there. Denise turned to stand beside Tammy. They held hands waiting for whatever was coming. Denise, he started, you look beautiful. Who could have guessed my little tomboy had this amazing girl hiding inside? Denise relaxed a little, but she was still dreading what he might say about Tammy. Thomas, his face changed, became more serious. I don't know what to say to you. I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd think my daughter had a very pretty girlfriend, except for your hair. We haven't gotten to hair yet, Denise stated with confidence. We just finished learning about makeup. Yes, her dad answered. Your mother tried to explain what was going on. She seems thrilled with the whole thing, but I just can't seem to wrap my head around it. Why don't you two come downstairs? I think I'd like to sit down with your mother and talk some more about this. He turned and left. That went better than I thought, Denise breathed. Yeah, Tammy answered, but it isn't over. They left the room and headed downstairs, Tammy holding his dress up as he navigated the stairs. Hold on a sec, he whispered to Denise, who was ahead of him. He reached over and tucked a clear plastic loop that was sticking out of the back of Denise's dress underneath. Thanks, Denise smiled at him. They walked into the living room. Both her parents were sitting on a sofa. Oh, her mother squealed. You both look amazing. Denise, why is Tammy wearing the new dress? Because I picked it out because I thought she would look great in it, she explained as they moved toward a love seat. Doesn't she? Absolutely, her mother answered, but I really was hoping to see you in it one day. Oh, you will. Denise sat and waited while Tammy gathered his dress and sat, then took his hand again. Tammy wore this last time, so I thought I would see how she liked wearing the long dress. It is a lot lighter than I thought it would be, Tammy joined in. The material feels so nice, I thought it might feel a little rough, and I was worried about it falling down because of no straps. It fits pretty tight under your arms, her mother explained. You might need to adjust it from time to time, but it shouldn't fall off you, so long as it is sized right. Okay, Denise's father broke in. I can sort of see why this is going on the way it is. It is still a little disturbing to think that my 14-year-old daughter is in her bedroom changing clothes in front of her, crap. I don't even know what to call you at the moment. Today, Tammy glanced at Denise. I am her girlfriend, Tammy. Her girlfriend Tammy, her dad answered. And what are you on other days? Her boyfriend Thomas, he smiled. What the hell kind of boyfriend lets a girl do this to him? He pressed. One who really understood what I was feeling like, Denise answered. One who was ready to help me figure some things out. I wanted a girlfriend, my age, that I could talk to about things, and I convinced him to be it. And you go into your room and strip down and put on dresses? He pressed. Well, we put on underwear too, Denise sighed. And we leave the door open some. We're too young to get into that kind of trouble, but old enough to want to. So, with the door open, anyone could look in at any time. I'd rather be caught in my underwear than naked with my boyfriend. Her mother tried to suppress a smile at her daughter's quoting of her. Fine, her father leaned back. Thomas, I am betting your parents don't know anything about this? About, Tammy? No, sir, he answered. We just came up with the name Tammy today. And they don't know I've been coming here to do this. Patty, her father turned to his wife, I can't believe you not only condone this, but are encouraging it. I told you earlier, she answered. Denise seems a lot happier this past week, and we've had a better relationship since then. I was pushing too hard for her to become a young lady. She had to come to it in her own time, and in her own way. I am thrilled regardless of how she is getting there, and I trust her, and Tammy, to behave like good girls when they are up in her room. He looked at the girls on the love seat, then back at his wife. He shook his head. I really don't get it, especially you Tom, Tammy. Are you planning on telling your parents? Maybe, he adjusted his dress. I guess it depends on how long we do this and what happens next. This is only the second time we've done it. First time was just dresses. This time, well, you can see. Yeah, I can see, he sighed. What are your plans for the rest of the day? Well, Denise picked up the conversation, Mom still needs to show us how to clean all the makeup off. And I thought Tammy would stay for dinner, and maybe we could all play a game after dinner? Her dad just looked at them, unable to believe his daughter wanted to just pretend her boyfriend was just another girl she hung out with. But he could see how happy she was, better than she had been in years. Am I supposed to put on a suit since you two are dressed up so formal? Denise laughed, got up and went to the couch. She turned and sat in her father's lap and kissed his cheek. No, we are going to go back upstairs and find something more comfortable to wear to dinner. Mom looks great, don't you think? What would you think he should wear? Oh, Patty grinned, I could see him in slacks and a polo. That sounds good, Denise pushed off her dad's lap. Come on, Tammy. We are so overdressed. Let's find something a bit more casual for dinner and game night. Tammy got up and took Denise's hand as she led them from the room. They heard her dad tell her mom, she really does seem happy. Who would have thought her dressing up her boyfriend would do that? He is pretty special too, she answered as they stood on the bottom stair listening. Denise smiled, kissed Tammy, and they continued up the stairs to her room. I can't believe he didn't throw me out, Tammy gasped as he sat on the bed and kicked off his heels. Even he wouldn't make you walk home in that dress, Denise giggled. But I was surprised he didn't put up more of a fight. My mom must have really sold what we are doing before he came up here. But dinner will probably be ready in a little while, so we better decide what we are wearing. Tammy sighed and joined Denise in front of her closet as they discussed what would be best. Once decided, Tammy unzipped Denise's dress and turned so Denise could unzip his. He slipped out of the dress and turned to hang it up as Denise was stepping away in just her panties. She smiled as she walked to the dresser to find a bra to wear. "What's the matter?" she asked as she pulled a white bra from the drawer and slipped it on. "It was bound to happen sooner or later, so I just decided not to worry about it. And even though your panties aren't sheer, I can pretty well describe what is in there. So, no touching, no hugging when we are naked, or almost naked. I admit, I want to touch you, to know what it feels like, but I'm scared I won't want to stop. And my mom was right about being too young and too old." She pulled a white t-shirt with very short sleeves, brown trim around the sleeves and collar, which was cut low, and pulled it over her head and it clung to her body. She went back to the closet and found a brown suede miniskirt and stepped into it. "Well, are you going to get dressed or are you going to dinner in just your bra and panties? I bet my dad would love that." "Oh, yeah." Tammy moved to the closet. "Do you have any red panties or bras? I thought I would wear this red dress." "Yeah, but you know you don't have to match." She moved to the dresser. "The black panties I have on don't exactly go with this outfit. I just didn't want the black strapless showing through the t-shirt." "I guess." Tammy pulled off his bra and took the red bra Denise offered. He pulled it on and turned to let Denise hook it for him. After getting his breasts settled, he glanced at Denise, then dropped his panties and put his hand out to take the red panty she held. Denise just stared for a couple moments. Then she blinked and handed him the panty and watched as he slipped them up his legs and into place. He adjusted himself and pulled the red dress over his head and into place. "There, bound to happen sooner or later, right?" "Yes, sooner or later," she stuttered. Tammy took Denise's hand and led her to the mirror. He wrapped an arm around her and hugged her close. He then let her go, turned and ran his hand down the back of the dress, checking to see if the panty created too much of a line on the dress. There was hardly one noticeable. "They are cut to not leave a line," Denise explained. "And that dress isn't tight, so nothing to worry about." "You don't think it is too short, do you?" Tammy asked, and he turned to look again. "Just don't walk up the stairs in front of my dad," she giggled. "Now let's go down and see if Mom needs help getting dinner ready. It will freak her out when I offer, but I feel like helping her now. Especially if we are doing it together." 7 Thomas walked up to the door of Denise's house. Today they would walk together as sophomores to school for the first time. The door opened and Denise came out all smiles. She was dressed in a sundress suitable for the still warm days. They hugged and kissed. "A new year," he told her. "You ready?" "Ready for anything," she responded. "As long as you are with me, and I have Tammy on the weekend. I'm going to miss all the extra days we had over the summer." Over the last school year, the changes to Denise had been noticed, but nothing much changed, except more whispers when they thought she couldn't hear. But things were so much better at home. Her relationship with both her parents changed. She realized she had been harboring so much anger, and now she wasn't even sure what she was so angry about. Thomas held her hand and turned to lead them on to school. He finally told his parents about Tammy back in the spring. They had gotten concerned about him seeming to spend a lot of time looking at magazines his mother read, spending too much attention to dresses and things when he went shopping with his mother. And on top of that, he had stopped getting his hair cut. It had all become so second nature when Tammy and Denise were hanging out at Denise's house. He finally broke down and explained what he was doing, and after another week, Denise came over and they introduced Tammy to his parents. Neither one of them was thrilled to see their son in full makeup, mini dress, and heels. Denise felt they should give them the whole show short of formals so they wouldn't be surprised later. There was an argument, and tears, before they finally accepted that there wasn't anything they could do to talk him out of it. They had seen the changes in Denise and had to admit she convinced them it was because of Tammy. And that since they had already been at it for 6 months and they had not really been able to figure out what was going on, they would rather him be open and honest with them than go on hiding. Over the past summer, they had done some shopping together. Thomas watched for people they might know from school, but when he didn't see anyone, they would browse the dresses and lingerie together. And even managed to buy a few items. As they got closer to school, Denise reached up and ran her fingers through Thomas's hair. "It's getting long enough," she pointed out. "Yes," he grinned. "Soon I think we'll be able to style it. Then Tammy will be complete." "Will Tammy be able to go shopping with me? Or to a movie?" she asked. "If we are careful," Thomas answered. "I think it will be easier when one of us gets our license and a car." "Cars mean needing a job," Denise sighed. "And that means less time together." "I know," Thomas groaned. "But jobs mean money. For the car, for shopping, for dates. Everything has a cost." "Yup," Denise nodded as they crossed the last street toward the school. "Hey, Denise," a voice called from behind them. They turned and watched a girl stride up in jeans and a blouse. "Hi, you look really cute." Hi," she answered. "Thanks." "Look, I'm Cindy," she stuck her hand out. "I was in a class with you last year. Everyone was talking about the transformation you went through, and I didn't know what to say. I thought I'd take a shot at saying hi and actually meet you when I saw you today." "Oh, okay," Denise was feeling stunned. "Oh, this is Thomas." "Hi, Thomas," she shook his hand. "Hope you don't mind if I tag along a bit. To be honest, I was so impressed with your transformation, and I was hoping I might get your opinion on some things." "Sorry, Thomas, probably going to do a lot of girl talk." "Don't worry about him," Denise smiled. "He was the reason I was able to do this. It was his suggestion to do the highlights in my hair to start." "Okay," Cindy answered. "Maybe it won't be so bad for you after all." "You just never know where things can lead," Thomas answered. "When you care about someone enough that you take a chance on something, sometimes you find something even more special." The three of them headed into school together. Denise's popularity grew over the year, and she brought Thomas along with her, making it clear he was a part of her and not just a high school boyfriend. A couple months later, Denise and Tammy went out together for the first time. They went to a movie, walked a mall that was across town. "Patty," Tammy asked, "is it hard driving in high heels?" "It just takes a little adjustment," she told him. "Why?" "Well, I am getting my license next month," he explained, "and I was wondering what the difference might be like. I think you should get used to driving as Thomas before you start trying to get Tammy behind the wheel," she explained. "I think you're right," he sighed and leaned back. "I was just thinking about going out like this with Denise and the freedom it will give us." "Don't worry," Denise hugged his arm, "we'll figure it out. I love spending time with Thomas and Tammy."